Okay, so another way that societal systems approach to social analysis or political analysis differs from the classic forms is by its conceptualization of what constitutes societal development. In the classic conceptualization of development is usually measured in economic terms on the productivity or the product or the value created by the social enterprise. The societal systems approach is value neutral in this sense, or at least that's my claim, because it does not look at the actual production of the group or the value added. It does not make any judgments on value, except in the quality of relationships and interactions among group members. And so development in this sense then is termed societal development and really is a change in the parameters of the Gaussian distribution that defines the relationship and the dispositions, the mix of dispositions of group members of acting within the group. And so over time, the shape of this curve changes as a function of development. And the development is measured by minimizing the use of instrumental strategies within group relationship, intergroup relationships, intra-group relationships between members of the group, and a maximization of sociational strategies, strategies that actually promote common interests, common goals, that accommodate individual creativity and innovation, but not at the expense of other group members. And so the highly developed societal system is largely defined by groups that voluntarily comply with societal norms, and that in which there is very little instrumental behaviors. So this is a static representation of the social group societal development dynamic. And this takes place over a long period of time, that societal groups do not change the distribution of their social dispositions, of strategic dispositions, overnight. It takes a long time because we're talking about thousands, hundred thousands, or millions of individuals interacting. And of course, there's a natural cycle of individuals in and out of this group, mainly through the life cycle itself. And so things constantly have to be relearned and reapplied, and new relationships have to be formed. And so this learning by the group historically has taken a long time. This learning curve, of course, speeds up with in modern systems because of the increase in knowledge base and the increase in technologies and mechanisms by which we can apply more cooperative strategies, and by the ways in which we've learned that instrumental behaviors are run contrary to group interests. So there's two basic functions in societal development. Again, one is that social learning and socialization combine to increase sociational distribution within the group, because these conflict management strategies of cooperation are economically superior to instrumental strategies. And secondly, a corollary dynamic draws individual dispositions in towards the central norm, which is designated as RO in this diagram, thereby minimizing and diminishing dispositions towards the use of force. In order to illustrate the dynamic nature of societal development, of course, we can we can represent this in a static model, which was done in the previous model, which showed levels. And of course, these levels are not how development happens, although there is an element of jumping forth in societal development, stages of development, as you will. That it's not a smooth process, because in the process of societal development, each level of development will institutionalize a certain set of norms, within its culture, ways of doing things. And as they develop new ways of doing things will come to the fore and will replace old ways of doing things. Well, there's a cognitive dissonance factor within changes in social group settings, in which old ways will be held past their prime, shall we say, or past their shelf life. That even though circumstances have changed, the level of development has changed, and new ways and new capabilities have become possible within the social group setting, old ways are clung to. They're embedded in culture. And so development really happens not slowly and incrementally over time in a smooth change in the quality and the parameters of the distribution curve, but does happen in a series of stages. And the stages are not set in stone. There's no standard number of stages or length of these stages. It's really group dependent. The group is self-reflective and self-corrective, as I've already argued. That having reflected and having decided to correct itself, it will discard social norms that are no longer conducive to the social group interests as these interests change. It will adopt new policies or new norms that are more conducive to group interests and increase productivity or increase the social output of group activities. And so there will be a discernible jump as old ways are abandoned, new ways are adopted. And so many of the social theories that prescribe stages of development do have a basis, I believe, in the way societal development actually occurs. And so that's why the curve is represented to move in the way it does in this diagram. But I'm going to add an element of dynamism to the model to give the audience a better sense of how this stage development occurs. Now, before I do this, however, I want to point out the concept of circumstance. And I've talked about Jared Diamond's treatment of circumstantial differences in societal development. And this applies very strongly in this model, that social groups occur in different environmental contexts, under different circumstances, and they really have to act within that environment and within those circumstances and come up with the best practices that are basically geared toward their special set of circumstances and their particular environment or climate. And so all social groups are different in that way. But the social organization is the universal construct. This representation then, which incorporates the ideas of circumstantial differences and takes them out of the way we judge development, then and focuses only on the quality of relations within the group and its coherence and cohesion and its ability to persist organically and to change and reform and improve itself, is not based on particulars or production, that the group decides what to produce and how much to produce in what quantity and in what quality according to its circumstances, what's available to it, what it values, what it's found to work best, what it's found to give the best satisfaction or the best pleasure or whatever for the group. And it's a group decision on what to produce and how to produce it. What's important to the production function, however, is the ability of group members to work together and to work cooperatively and to work consistently, so they're not working at cross purposes, that they're not working counterproductively and diminishing their prospects by working against each other. They're working towards common goals and finding the best practices to accomplish those goals. So, the societal development process occurs in a series of stages, as I point out. And these stages then, as a function of social learning, you see the shape of the curve changes, in which the proactive number or segment of society increases, and the instrumental individuals diminish and are drawn in towards the societal norm. And so the main difference between autocratic governance and the needs for autocratic conflict management and the difference between autocratic management strategies and democratic strategy or governance strategies really are based on the disposition of group members. That more instrumental behaviors require a more instrumental approach to conflict management because they're more willing to act out in situations where they don't feel they're getting what they want, they need, or they desire. And in order to counter that use of instrumental force, the state itself has to engage in instrumental activities to neutralize the use by members of instrumental force. Over time, the relative use of instrumental force compared to the use of sociational strategies shifts in favor of sociational strategies. Less force and coercion is evident within social relations. This unleashes the economic potential of group relations, makes them much more productive, much more efficient, much more effective. And so that's the nature of societal development.